girl, Mrs. Tony Two Times, and I'm back with another video. In this episode of Hood Tales, let's take it to Charlotte, North Carolina to discuss the case of a cheating prank gone wrong. But before we get into this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Turn your notifications on so you don't miss any future uploads. Stay tuned until the end to hear the full story. Everything in this video is alleged. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. You never really know how someone is going to react until you push them. And in this situation, what started as a joke turned into something way more serious than anyone expected. It all started with what seemed like a typical young romance in Charlotte, North Carolina. Shyhied Ivey, 20, and Nevaeh Covington had been seeing each other for about 5 months. At the 5-month mark, you're usually still in that honeymoon phase, constantly texting, hanging out whenever possible, and sharing locations on your phones. According to reports, Nevaeh had shared her location with Shahed via Find My iPhone app. To them, it was likely just a sign of trust. But as we'll soon see, that would lead to a very dangerous night. Now, before we get into the events of Friday, April 4th, we have to look at who Shahed was outside of his relationship. Shahed was no stranger to local authorities. He had a pretty extensive history for someone so young. Back in 2024, he was caught up in a series of vehicle break-ins at a local hospital parking deck. By December 2023, he was facing more serious trouble and was eventually convicted of felony larceny of a motor vehicle. Instead of serving time behind bars, he was given a little bit of a break, a suspended sentence with 24 months of supervised probation. Essentially, he was on a very short leash. In early 2025, he was back in the system for allegedly fleeing to elude arrest. Just 2 weeks before this story takes place, authorities had already flagged him for probation violations. It seems like the stage was already set for a disaster. So at this point, Shahed's already on thin ice with the law. Now it's Friday night, April 4th. Nevaeh is out having a great time with her 4 friends, Jernala, Kimaya, Damien, and Nadia. The group, all between the ages of 18 and 19, young, having fun, not thinking too deeply about consequences, headed over to Camp North End, a trendy shopping and food spot in the NODA community. They were grabbing food and enjoying the weekend, vibes, nothing out of the ordinary. Eventually, the group headed back toward Columbus Circle. Everything seemed normal until the group decided to entertain a very bad idea. While hanging out, Nevaeh and her friend Damien decided it would be funny to play a prank on Shahed. The plan? Damien would call Shahed and pretend that he and Nevaeh were together behind his back. In their minds, it was probably just a joke to see if he'd get a little jealous. They made the call pretending like Nevaeh was actively cheating with Damien. Then the group piled into Jernala's red Nissan Altima to head back out. They likely expected a frustrated phone call or maybe a heated argument later that night. They didn't realize Shahed was already looking at his phone, watching Nevaeh's location move across the map. Shahed obviously didn't take this as a joke. This was real life for him. He really thought Nevaeh was cheating on him. As the 5 friends drove down Berry Hill Road toward Freedom Drive, a black Nissan sedan appeared in their rearview mirror. It was Shahed. He wasn't just following them, he was tailgating them aggressively. Shahed called Nevaeh, and according to reports, he was absolutely livid. He began driving recklessly, swerving, and trying to force their red Altima to pull over. At one point, the situation went from scary to terrifying. Nevaeh looked out the window and saw Shahed point a weapon out of his car and fired at least once into the air. The chase reached a breaking point at the intersection of Freedom Drive and Wesley Village Road. As the friends slowed down at the light to make a left turn, Shahed pulled his black sedan right alongside them. Without hesitation, he discharged his weapon 3 times directly into the red Altima. Glass shattered everywhere as the metal fragments tore through the rear right window. The 5 teenagers inside ducked for cover as Shahed sped off into the night. Miraculously, despite the broken glass and the close range, no one was physically harmed. Charlotte-Mecklenburg police met with the group immediately. They gave police their statement. Investigators didn't have to look far for evidence. They checked Department of Transportation traffic cameras, which captured the whole thing. The black car pulling up, 3 bright bursts of light, and the window of the red car exploding. They also found a 7.62 by 39 millimeter shell casing at the scene, the kind of hardware usually reserved for high-powered rifles. But perhaps the most damning piece of evidence was a text message Shahed sent to Damien at 1:32 a.m., about 2 hours after the chaos. It simply said, "Stop playing with me, bro." Not long after, Shyhied Ivey is taken into custody. He's booked into the Mecklenburg County Detention Center the following Wednesday. Because there were 5 people in that car, he's facing a mountain of charges. 5 counts of assault with a fatal weapon with the intent to take a life, discharging a firearm into an occupied vehicle, possession of a prohibited weapon by a convicted felon, and domestic-related charges. A judge set his bond at $50,000 secured, and he's expected to appear in court on April 23rd. Shyhied Ivey is innocent until proven guilty. This story is a wild reminder of how quickly a prank can turn into a life-changing disaster. On one hand, you have a group of friends playing with fire by intentionally provoking someone they had to know had a history. On the other hand, you have a young man who was willing to risk everything over what he initially thought was his girlfriend of 5 months cheating on him that actually turned out to be a prank. This is a prime example of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I don't know why they thought this was a good idea to play like that. To me, in this day and age, people are not taking cheating lightly anymore. It can cost you your life. Thankfully, no one was hurt in this situation. I want to hear from you. Do you think the friends bear any responsibility for staging a prank like this? Number 2, in the age of sharing locations with a partner, is it a safe feature or a recipe for disaster? Finally, how should someone handle a situation when emotions are running high? Because regardless of how you feel, decisions made in the heat of the moment can follow you for the rest of your life. Fam, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Alright fam, that's it for this episode of Hood Tales. Thank you so much for watching. Consider liking and sharing. Be sure to subscribe for more stories like this. Take care of yourself and each other. This is your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 times, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one.